Yes, I am the light. I am the way. I am the bad wolf. What's going on, guys? Sorry about the light behind me. Apparently, it's that time of the day where the sun wants to illuminate the wolf. All right, so I'll try to use my melon to hide the sun here while we do a little recording. So check it out. So in Tennessee law, by the federal courts. Remember, these lower courts are not actually the law. They practice law, but it's really legal statutes and codes for their U.S. citizens. But they themselves are not ultimate law. The federal court is, and above the federal court is the Supreme Court. Above the Supreme Court is the Constitution, and above the Constitution are we the people, the nationals, the state citizens, the private. And above us, depending on what you believe, not to offend anybody, but it is what it is, God, the creator, okay? Natural law, all right? So in this, I'm going to play on my other computer here 2 minutes of what just transpired in Tennessee, and we're going to talk about it. So give me 1 second here. Did you hear that? Licenses in Tennessee for people who have them revoked are about to get them back. Now, people say, yeah, but that's in Tennessee. Oh, here's the thing. When the federal court rules, it's across the nation. So yes, you can use this in your state as a reference to get your license back. But let's go on. Now, why would it be unconstitutional if you can't pay court costs and certain things for them to then take away your license? Because a court cost is a fee and it's a debt. And there are legally in the United States of America to be no debtors' prisons. So can the federal court just overstand and turn over the lower courts, which are inferior to them, any of their decisions? Yes, because the lower courts in the states are not completely sovereign. They are mostly sovereign. But anywhere where they take away your constitutional rights, they're effed. Let's keep going and see what they have to say here. Break it down for me, pimp. Now understand it's because you have a right to travel. So to my police officers, to my lawyers, to my attorneys, to my inept judges, and anybody else who doesn't overstand the law. Well, that's right. You can't overstand the law because that would be you knowing constitutional law, but you guys know state law, which are codes, regulations, and edicts for U.S. citizens, which are optional. Even being regarded as a U.S. citizen is optional. Y'all been letting this Monopoly game go to y'all head. Y'all are actually private. It's funny how y'all don't want to say the private exists, but yet when you go home, you're private. And when the cops came to my house on some unrelated stuff to me, came in my house, I allowed them in. They read the sign right here, told them they lose their powers here. They asked, "What is that? You embassy?" I said, "I'm a micronation." I said, "Okay, so you're a private citizen." Yep. All right. Did their thing. We talked. They left. But you don't want to acknowledge the private. See, all of the states, the public is a group of people. So it's like a private members association or a PMA. It's so big, these corporations in all the states that are working together, that they're private. Because see, somebody from Canada or Mexico can't just come here and be a resident. They can't just be a U.S. citizen. The states don't have the power to do that as corporations. those people have to get naturalized through the United States Immigration Department. And when they do, they get to the option of being a U.S. citizen, and though not told to them, a national, which is why they call it naturalization. Naturalization, national, because you're getting that first, and then you have the ability, but they only hype or glorify the U.S. citizen status. A real man stands on the land. The red, rooty soil and the red blood of a living man is why we do things in the color red when autographing. Let's keep going. So you hear that? So they made it a law. If you don't pay this fine, this fee, we're going to take away your driver's license. Now, here's the thing. Here's the wolf's real thought on that. Let me go into my God mode for a moment. What should really be going on with this? Can they do that? Here's the thing. Because driving is, in fact, a privilege that they have created. My actual ruling for the federal court would be to say, hear me out. At first, I would say it is constitutional because driving is a privilege and a benefit of the U.S. corporation and U.S. citizen. But here's the thing. The federal law has absolute ruling, right? So what they've basically said is you guys have been having ownership of the driving privilege for so long, but now so many people are using it. It's a way of life. You cannot take that away from somebody because the federal court's not harping on right to travel. So initially, if I was a higher ruling judge, I would look at what the federal court said and I'd say, well, you don't have the right to tell them that they have to extend driving or allow them to undo revoked licenses because driving is in fact their game, the lower states. Federal government gives you the ability to ignore a normal driver's license and get a DOT number and operate your vehicle under right to travel, or you could do it privately like me through your own micronation or your own trust, as long as you do it foreign to the United States corporation. This comes in at under non-resident registration or foreign vehicle registration, which is the state code and law, lower level law, in all of the states. And if they don't have that there, then you have the right to do it anyway under impunity because they don't have anything on it. But you have to learn how to do it properly. So watch my other videos on Right to Travel by James C. Lovett. Now, but the federal court says, you know what? If you know about right to travel, that's cool. Do right to travel. But we're going to rule that it's unconstitutional is what it says here. So here's the article on YouTube if you want to look it up. Federal rules, Tennessee law on revoked licenses unconstitutional. So my dear lawyers, my dear attorneys, my dear judges, my dear police officers, the federal court ruled that this is unconstitutional. Some of the things you're doing every day are unconstitutional. So if there's state law and there's a constitution and they're saying this is unconstitutional, that means that the Constitution and we the people supersede what they're doing in some cases. Now, normally I would side with you guys and say the federal court, hey, they can do what they want to do with drivers because that's a privilege and a benefit. And maybe the states will get together and argue my points. Everybody's like, Wolf, I thought you were on our side. I'm for the law. But here's what the federal court has the ability to do is supersede the state's laws and rule them unconstitutional, which means they can be ignored. So what the federal court essentially did is they said it's a precedent across the United States of America and the U.S. corporation. They cannot rule that you have a revoked license for not paying their court costs or fees. Now, somebody could use this to argue about child support. How do you want me to go to work, but you're going to remove my right to drive? They can do that. This may be an opening for people to argue that in federal court and then sue them and get your license back. So, can the federal court do that? Yes. Why? Because we, the people, gave them the power to rule for things in our favor that remove our rights and our liberties and our freedoms by the power of the Constitution, which supersedes all of the lower courts' laws, rules, and edicts and regulations at any point in time. So what happened? So really what happened is this. They put out, we have the right to travel. Supreme Court, federal court's already ruled on this. I've won countless cases. I have one female student now who's won like 5 cases on her own using this information and having been taught from me. The federal court said, you guys have been ruling and using this right to travel, to use the roads, private conveyance, U.C. 9-109. You've been using it so long that now it's become basically a right. So we already had the right. Then the states took that right and turned it into a privilege and a license, but it's been out here so long, it's so common, it's so widely used now as a staple. The federal court is now saying, look, this is a right now. This ain't a privilege. They have to be able to go out there and make a living. But let's keep going. Let's see what else they have to say. Here's the thing, guys. This guy got other citizens, nationals all together. The one thing that they absolutely all out there hate, they all want you guys little sheep out there in your own little pens and fighting about male, female, trans, quad, poly, red, blue, Democrat, Republican, all that crap is nonsense. These are the things like in The Wizard of Oz, they want you to pay attention to the show and not the man behind the curtain. This man stood up, which is what you guys need to do, and filed a class action lawsuit about things that they find to be unconstitutional. Sue these people. Sue the state, sue the government. Well, the government's really on our side. For the most part, they don't do anything. Well, we'll leave some of that alone. Got to keep it down on this level. But your courts, your state laws, rules, take them to federal court about some of the things that they're doing and see how quickly it changes. Start suing these bad police officers, bad judges, bad lawyers, bad attorneys for their things, their parts. Oh, they told your car? Sue them. Bring them in on RICO. Oh, they took you to the hospital without a warrant to draw your blood? Sue the hospital too. If we have to chug the courts full of court cases to get our constitutional rights realized, respected, then that's what we'll do. We've played it nice. We've been nice. We've tried to give them courtesies, and they still want to play. Okay. Do you want to play? Okay. I reloaded. So this guy started a class action lawsuit and they won. That's American. That's how you get things done. Let's go. Now, understand when they say legal right, that means that you have the ability to do so. So, did they strip these people of that? Yes. Yes, they did. But here's the thing. Technically, if I was the legal department, I would say no, they didn't. Don't worry, I'm on your guys' side, but we have to look at this by the law. They personally were stripped of their right because they didn't understand what's going on. Now, here's a gem drop. I usually give this away only on my private consultations, education and informational purposes only, and individual results may vary. Hypothetically, if Bob C. Smith lost his ability to drive, Bob C. Smith could do DOT, right to travel. Bob C. Smith could do right to travel privately in his own personal conveyance. But if Bob C. Smith only understood that his name on the state level is a legal person and Bob C. Smith were to create a new legal person and apply for a driver's license, Bob, no longer Bob C. Smith, we'll call him Jacques de la Ghetto, could then drive. Educationally speaking, let's keep going. 146,000 revoked licenses. Why would they do this? You think it's a punishment? You think these people aren't going to still drive? He just said only 7% complied. The other 93% were still out there risking it. I have no choice. I got to get food. This is one of the reasons why I got into this. Because I had an OWI. I'm a grown man. How are you going to tell me when I didn't hurt anybody or do any damage or anything else? It's a victimless scenario that I can't go get food. I can't put food on the table for my offspring. I can't go and make money. I'm supposed to sit here and just die and let you take my money? So I'm good enough for you to take my money? Come on, man. Now, some people slosh drunk and have done damage. Yes, they should be stopped. They should be whatever. But it seems like those are the ones they keep letting go. So it's kind of funny. It's almost like there's a racket or a class action lawsuit here because they slap the hands of the repeat offender so they can keep going out repeating and making money. But people like you and me, they hammer hard because they know we're not going to come back. We're going to fight to never have that situation happening again. So it's almost like they want to make all the money they can off of us when they can. That sounds like a conspiracy against the American people, that they are defrauding us. They've set up these checks and balances, these BS checkpoints that are unconstitutional as well. I'm gonna need you to pull over here. We just want to see. We're checking to see if you're driving under the influence. So if I'm not, why are you bothering me? You're stripping me of my rights. Lawsuit. Anti-American. Let's go. It didn't work, but they were making money. That's what all that's about. That's all of this is about. See, but credit scores too. And garnishing, there's a lawsuit there, class action or private. Hit me up for a consultation, and if certain things apply. Like I said, just because these guys get away with it on a daily basis doesn't mean that it's lawful, meaning constitutional. Did you know? Do you know how many banks and what they're doing on a daily basis is unconstitutional? If you excuse me, if you overstood the law like I do, you'd want them to bother you because then you can sue them. And I'm not saying sue just because willy-nilly, for the outcome of being compensated. But what I'm saying is you need to fight for your rights. Now, remember, if you go out there and you just try to set them up for a lawsuit playing games and they find out, that means they can prove mens rea. If they can prove it, which means you came there for illicit activities or nefarious purposes to do that, you're sunk. But if they legitimately deny you of your specific constitutional rights or what you feel and you can prove in law should be a constitutional right, like driving, got them. Fair use on the use of this information from ABC 24, Memphis, credit. That's it, guys. Go get your rights. Enough said.